Holy cow.
Holy cow. Good morning, everybody. This is Andy Quinnell with the Lake County Republican Central Committee show. Paid for by the Lake County Republican Central Committee. Dan Durnell, Chairman. Dana Dumazic, Vice Chairman. Councilwoman Leanne Angerman, Secretary. And yours truly, Andy Quinnell, Treasurer. Today, I have with me in studio Charlie Kallas, who's running for Senate. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Good. You're welcome. Thanks for coming in this morning. Charlie is running for the 1st District in the Senate seat, correct?
State Senate, yes.
Okay. So, which covers which areas?
It covers South Hammond from 165th South, all of Munster, all of Highland, Griffith from Broad West, Dyer north of 30, and then Cherville, it zigzags in the Crown Point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the way down the Clark Road and 101st is the corner, southern corner.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a large district.
Yeah, it's kind of wanders around quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you have, what you've got going on?
Sure. Yeah. You had me on about 11 months ago, I think, since the last time we were on, and since then it's been a busy 11 months. I was part of a Archeon resolution that was passed in February-March timeframe. Part of that lobby effort, being active within the roles of, someone trying to get involved as a state senator. So It was good practice to be involved with that. Legislation ended up getting signed by the governor. Went down there, had talked to the governor, talked to the lieutenant governor, toured around the chambers. A lot of my future peers would be our colleagues should I be elected. We've been involved in 7 different parades since I was last on, different 3 to 4 different radio shows. So I'm making a presence known. People are starting to realize, hey, we do have options in Northwest Indiana aside from long-term incumbents.
What was the legislation that you were involved in?
The Archeon resolution. So basically that involved the Turkish government and it's basically from the Greek Orthodox Church. What they wanted to do was to go to each state government and say, hey, we need recognition for our cause. So the cause is, St. Constantinople in Turkey. The Turkish government runs the church in a sense. Okay. And they've taken
no separation of church and state.
Unfortunately, no. And basically, to sum it up, they decided that the government's going to take over artifacts, religious documents, and just total control. So every time a state in the United States organizes to pass one of these resolutions, and Indiana became the 45th or something like that, the Turkish government relinquishes control of some of those artifacts, some of that control to the church, and the church has more authority in what they're trying to accomplish. So that all it is recognizing the church's authority in Turkey, and I was happy to be somewhat a part of that.
Oh, well, that's great. And I'm sure there were probably a bunch of other local Greek Orthodox.
Yes. And it wasn't just from Indiana or the local area. We're talking Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, all the Midwest area. A lot of people came together for this, and it is a group effort.
Because in Northwest Indiana, there's not a very large Greek population, right?
Oh, yeah, no. Well, let's think about that for a second. We have 3 churches, 4 actually, if you go out to Porter County. So we have one in Hammond, St. Demetrius in Hammond, which I'm
over on Holman Avenue.
Avenue. Then we have St. George in Cherville. Okay. And then we have St. Constantine in Maryville, and then you have St. Evakos in Valpo. So 4 churches in the general Northwest Indiana area.
And if I remember correctly, your brother is
He is no longer in that position. He moved on to a better position. He's taking a little break, but he's in Tennessee. But he was the former executive assistant to the bishop in Chicago for the Greek Orthodox Church. So he found a different position that he's enjoying a little bit easier.
Still within
the church, though.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, good for you.
Just another career stepping stone for him. That's all.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Give us a little background. I know you grew up here in Hammond, right?
Yeah, I'm a lifelong resident of Hammond. My parents owned Dunrod Dry Cleaners for 10 years. We had 3 different locations and multiple wholesale accounts. I graduated from Gavitt, class of 2008. So we just had our 10-year reunion last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was great. About 30, 40 people show up, which you can really say that's not a surprise anymore, but with social media. But it was good catching up with a lot of the friends and Just reliving some of the old times. And then, after I graduated, I went right into the Army. I was in the Army for 8 years. I got out as a sergeant. I served in Afghanistan from 2010, 2011 during the surge in Kandahar.
Okay. Thank you, and
you're
thank
welcome.
you for your service.
Yeah, it was a good learning experience, and without it, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
But while I was there, one thing about the military is great educational benefits they give service members, and I was able to capitalize on that. And I got a degree in computer information technology at Indiana Wesleyan. Not currently using it because I'm a current steel worker.
Yeah.
So, but it's something to have in a good, technology state of era, I guess you can call it. Everything relies on technology these days. So it's something in my back pocket that maybe I'll use down the road.
Yeah.
But currently, as I say, I'm a union member at Arslan Mill, Burns Harbor. And today, I'm sort of wearing that sticker today in support of them because we have a contract rally at 9:30. Basically, the union saying, "Hey, let's get let's finalize this." It's been since July, so it's time for a fair contract. And I stand behind my fellow steelworkers and saying, "Let's finish this all the way through."
Good for you.
Yeah.
And how long have you been at Arslan then?
Going on 6 years, so a little over 5, but going on 6. So it's been a really interesting experience. I first started at the blast furnace railroad, moving liquid iron from the blast furnace to the BOF, and those that don't understand how the steel mill works, it goes like this. You have your coke ovens and the imported ore, and then it goes to the blast furnace. It's all fed together to make iron. From the iron, it's transported, which I did, to the BOF, basic oxygen furnace. And what you do there is, that's where steel's made. You put the different grades together. You pour it into the caster, and the caster says, "Hey, let's." The different forms and how they go. And so
we have a call. We're going to go to line 1, DFG. Dave from Gary, as opposed to Dave from Highland. Go ahead, DFG.
Right. Yeah, we just made the move. Hey,
it should be
service.
DFM, really. Dave from Miller.
It should.
Yeah.
Right. Or I was born and raised in Hempstead, so hey, the DFH covered quite a few things. But I'm first of all, thanks for your service, and I hope the vote goes the way everyone wants it to go. I depend on those steel mills every day.
Right.
So I'm in there. I'm one of the 7 for every iron worker or steel worker. There's 7 guys like me that depend on guys like you. So there's a lot of support going in. It's in current events. I'm asking everyone the same question. Andy knows I'm a gun guy. President made a comment the other day, and you being really active in your church, this is I think it's a relevant question. Your personal opinion on, again, the president made a comment that maybe, just maybe, we should have armed guards in our sanctuaries and churches. First of all, I think my personal opinion, that's absurd, but I would like your opinion just due to the fact it's a relevant thing right now, and it's still pretty raw for all of us. But I'd like your personal opinion on basic gun rights, because it might come down to a state issue, right?
Right.
And you possibly would be involved in making difficult decisions like that. So I'd like your opinion, and thank you.
I don't think. Thanks for the question. I don't think that more security is necessary in churches or even schools, for that matter. If you think about it, if we just give people the right to arm themselves, that should be enough to go forward.
Well, we're lucky in this state where we are allowed to arm ourselves,
right.
Although I believe our laws prevent you from carrying a firearm within the
school grounds and
churches.
Depending on the church, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to say something, DFG. I think the biggest problem that we have is nobody has a respect for life anymore. We've allowed people to almost make life disposable. We need to teach people to have more respect for life. I think that's the larger overreaching problem here that needs to be addressed.
Ultimately, though, I think that, federal guidelines, we shouldn't be overstepping state rules.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And, my heart and my prayers go out to the people
absolutely
in Pittsburgh. That's just terrible that this is happening, and especially in 2018, we should not be. We should not have to deal with religious persecution in this day and age.
Absolutely.
So, anyhow, you are listening to the Lake County Republican Central Committee show. Dan Durnell, Chairman, Dana Dumasic, Vice Chairman. Councilwoman Leanne Angerman, secretary, and yours truly, Andy Quinnell, is treasurer. I have on with me today the District 1 Senate candidate, and that is Charlie Kallas. We are going to go to MX. MX, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you been, Andy?
Good. How was your ride this past weekend?
Really good. Had a good workout. Went to load the bike up, and I didn't have the hook right. It flipped me out of the truck, and I didn't think anybody was looking. And
did somebody get it on?
Looked, and they all laughed, and I laughed too. But
nobody got it on film?
I wish they did. But anyways, I want to give a heads up to Charlie. You know, Charlie's a steel worker.
Yep.
And you always have to support a steel worker over a politician. There's no disrespect to Frank Mervyn Sr., but he's a politician. So all you steel workers out there, union brothers, let's support a steel worker over a lifetime politician. And Charlie has done a really good job in town. So
well, thank you.
At that, I'll let it go, and take care, Andy.
All right,
well,
thanks.
I'll add to that a little bit. This position I'm running for, our seat exactly, used to be held by steelworkers. From 1978, prior to going into the 50s, for decades, the local 1010 members held this seat.
Really?
Yeah, this used to be a hardcore union steelworker seat. So let's go back to, hey, let's have a union steelworker back in this seat.
Okay. All right, we got the infamous Mad Mac on 3. Mad Mac, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing fine. And
how are you doing, Charlie?
Pretty good.
Can't wait. Well, actually, no. I was going to say I can't wait to get into the ballot booth and vote for you, but I already did.
Well, thank you.
And I did it in the spirit of what I hear a lot of Democrats like Jed and D of H saying we need youth in coming up in the ranks, and we want to reach over the aisle. So for all you good Democrats out there, here's your chance to show how much you want to reach over the aisle. Here's a young man with a great reputation. He served in the military. He's a hard-working individual. Gets down, gets his hands dirty, working in the steel mill, using all the brain power he accumulated from his military service, putting his life on the line for us. And he's a Republican. So reach over the aisle, Democrats. You've got youth, you've got intelligence, and you've got a chance to say we need to work with the other party more. Now, we've seen what happens when we vote for Democrats. We end up with the top 3 guys who used to run the county jail. They're all in prison right now. They're all either behind bars or indicted. Now let's reach over the aisle and say, let's vote for a Republican. Let's see what can happen.
Let me interject really quick.
Possibly be.
Let me interject really quick. I have a lot of Democrats that are coming over to my side simply because they want to see change. They recognize that, hey, we need term limits. 36 years is enough. If you think about it, this is not a lifetime position. Since 1978, my opponent's been in office. He was, defeated once in '94, but that was 20 years ago, 24 years ago. It is time for a change, and I think the people ultimately recognize that.
Yeah, 24 years ago, I was only like 14, I think. Andy, don't say a word. But, like I said, now's your chance, Democrats. Come on over and do exactly what you've been preaching for years and years. Oh, let's reach over the aisle. Let's reach over, Democrats. Vote for Dan Burzak. Vote for our man Charlie here, and let's get the ball rolling. And certainly vote for Mike Broad, because I think we've got a great chance to win the National House, and then we hopefully hold on to the Senate. And I think it's going to be could be a great thing for our country. When this all goes right.
Well, I'm hoping next Tuesday night's a great night. I mean, it's certainly looking a lot better than it was earlier this year. I think people are fed up after what happened with Kavanaugh. I think they're upset with what's going on south of, down in southern and central Mexico right now.
It's amazing how 7,000 people all of a sudden have the same idea just decided to snap out and go, yeah, we've been persecuted too long.
Yeah, it's
just what a miracle of intellectual cohesion that they all of a sudden said, let's go north.
And
we can almost get there by Election Day in America.
And I think people realize that, the economy is doing well. I mean, we're doing a lot better than we were. We're definitely doing better than we were, 10 years ago.
I think that's an understatement. We're doing extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, you look and see at the investment that's going into the steel mills and stuff like that.
Yes.
That's all from the work of this administration. And if we want to continue to have that, we need to make sure that we are supporting this administration with, like-minded, people that are going to help them. And
why would you want to run this program off the tracks right now?
Exactly. And when you look at the state of Indiana, the way that the state of Indiana is going, I mean, this is a great state. This is a very well-run state. There's always room for improvement, and, we can improve upon that. But, I mean,
that's why we're voting for Charlie.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Mad Mac.
No, that you just proved a point, though. Like, we have good leadership, and it goes from the governor down. Eric Holcomb's doing an excellent job. How many times has he visited the region?
Oh, he'll be here Saturday.
Right.
He'll be here Saturday down at Niemeyer's Barn. Not only that, everyone, I just want you to know there's going to be a special edition of the show on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. I am actually going to have all 3 statewide ladies on with me. They will be on from 8 to 9. So that will be Connie Lawson, Secretary of State, Kelly Mitchell, the treasurer, and Tara Klutz, auditor, will all be on with me on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. Hope you guys will tune in and listen to hear what they have to say, and keeping the state on the right track as the governor's promoting it right now.
Well, these ladies, we have 3 women in key positions in our leadership.
5, actually.
5,
if you include Suzanne Crouch and Jennifer McCormick.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's extremely impressive. And I've gotten to know them pretty much on a one-to-one basis. The governor, I saw him at dinner 2 weeks ago when Mike Pence was in town in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
We were at that dinner, and I went up to the governor, and he's like, "How's it going, Mr. Kallas?" So he recognized who I am. And then Mr. Braun, I go up to him and was talking to him for a bit. He's like, "How's your race going, Mr. Kallas?" So these are key leaders that are going on that recognize my efforts and what I'm trying to do up here. And how can you ignore that? They're making the effort to know who's doing what in each part of the state.
Yeah, no, and I've said this about the governor. I mean, he has not discounted the region. He's trying to do what's best for the region, and we have to help him.
He's been up here for the lead contamination, bipartisan effort. He was up here for the Gary $750 million investment.
Yep.
He was up here for the data center.
Yep.
He's been up here numerous of times.
If we were to call him tomorrow and say, "Hey, we need you to come up to deal with something,"
he'd be up here.
He'd be here.
Yeah.
So he is.
That's a testament to his leadership and the leadership that follows suit.
Yeah.
And sort of goes into my next thing of what I want to bring up was, we have this public question on the ballot that I think people are starting to wake up to now that early voting is going on, and people are sort of confused as to what does this public question actually mean. And I've had to answer so many different emails, so many different phone calls on this topic. And let me just say this, okay? In order for you to change something on the Indiana Constitution, you have to have it approved, the similar legislation passed in 2 different legislative sessions. So in this particular case, for Article 10, Section 5, to amend the Constitution, we needed this legislation effort for a balanced budget in 2 different sessions. This happened in 2015 and 2017. That was passed in both houses and signed by the governor. Okay, and after it goes through 2 legislative sessions, it has to be approved by the majority of the voters of the state. So that's why it's up. People got confused as, well, I thought we went through this already, or I thought it was already agreed. We're in the final step of amending the Constitution of Indiana. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at now. Now, is the balanced budget a bad thing or a good thing? That comes into the confusion part. Well, let's look at why you have this confusion in the first place. Your elected officials currently aren't educating you enough on this subject. Otherwise, you wouldn't be confused. They'd be out there on the radios like I am. They'd be out there in the newspapers making comments. They'd be out there in general in the public facing their constituents saying, hey, this is what's going on. Here's why it's a good thing. Here's why it's a bad thing. But when you're not hearing anything at all, leaving it up to political pundits to make cues or remarks as to which way you should lean on it, then that's a problem from our elected officials. and it's sort of the reason why I'm running. Now, let's clear up the air a little bit, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the balanced budget is nothing new. We're already practicing it day in and day out. All it says is, look, you can't spend more than you take in or expect to take in. Okay, got it. Indiana's good practice on that. And then it puts the pensions first. So all these public pensions, everyone's worried about, well, what if there's a shortfall or we're having an emergency? We're going to take away from that. No one's going to take away from the pensions. The pensions are supposed to be funded first. There is a clause that says in a state of emergency that all funding, regardless of any program, can probably be stopped for a temporary short of time. But again, it's not a permanent fix to that. It's for a temporary clause should it be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but where did I go wrong in my assessment on that? Everyone's saying one thing, and it's just like everyone is so confused, and we have to put blame on the elected officials that aren't doing their job.
Yeah. And so what do you think we should be doing on the public question?
Well, I think we should be voting yes. I'll side to caution. We should, make sure there's no loopholes that shouldn't be overlooked. Like, for example, can this be applied to city or town governments?
Yeah.
Is that something that's been talked to or could apply? I don't know. But again, look at the legislation as a whole. The intended purpose of it was for the state of Indiana to have a balanced budget.
Yep.
And if you just look next door to our neighbors to the left or to the west, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it shows what happens when you can't balance a budget. And I'm sure all of us can't wait to not have to see the plethora of commercials that, because we only get the brawn.
Yeah.
We get, but, the ones that affect us are really just the brawn ones. There's
right.
no other, and his opponent. I'm not going to, mention his name. But, we have to go through all the Pritzker Ronner, the Roscom, and whatever that guy's name is, who's running against him.
Right.
And, of course, Randy Holtgren, and the woman who used to work for Obama
right.
is running against him. We got to watch those things constantly. And Erica Harold.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her opponent. They just keep coming and coming and coming. It's like 7 more days.
Yeah,
7 more days.
7 more days, everyone.
Yeah.
And then it'll be all over until, the next year?
Yeah, exactly. Well, then, we'll have to watch mayoral ones that'll be popping up because, of course,
right.
You've got 50 people running for mayor in the city of Chicago. But anyhow, don't want to digress that much. Yeah. But what are you hearing out on the campaign trail elsewhere? What are people's big issues that you're hearing about?
I'd say the 3 big issues are the opioid drug problem, education, and child poverty.
Mm-hmm.
The governor recently signed 3 pieces of legislation into law this past session regarding opioid treatments, basically coroner reports, prescription drugs, and drug treatment in general. I think we should look at how those bills are going forward or how they're working. I know President Trump, same type of legislation federally is in the works or close to finishing. So that's one thing I can rest assured to some of the constituents is we are working on the issue on both sides of the aisle. This is a top issue, I think, for both sides. And no one disagrees that something needs to be done about it. I mean, enough's enough. We recognize that there is a problem, and we're going to take care of it. In regards to education, I put in an election board complaint regarding the Hammond referendum, and basically I got no response. They said the controlling entity of the election boards just ignored me 2 months now, and it's just like there is serious laws violated in this referendum, and it's like you want to talk about okay, let's put forth an idea. Okay, it got passed, but no one's talking about the fact that they use taxpayer money to advocate for the referendum. That's a Class A misdemeanor, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do that. I know in Munster we did. They set up a PAC that paid for all the referendum and
there was a PAC, but what I'm saying is I have multiple sources that say this show the entity or the controlling entity of the School City Hammond, paid for a show on WJOB multiple times by tax dollars, and then they omitted the fund on their financial report, and no one wants to look at it. So it's like, yeah, you can have you could do all this stuff for education, but there's a lot of wasteful spending going on. Where's the accountability? If there's no accountability, then how can you cut the waste?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely
right.
right.
And then it goes to the final point of child poverty. DCS, Indiana DCS, they went way over budget this last session. I don't even have the exact number anymore, but I know it was way over budget. And again, accountability and waste.
Yeah.
Where's the accountability? How did anyone allow them to go that much over, or do they really need that much? I get it. It's a much needed funded program, but we need to be asking some serious questions of our elected officials on to what's really going on. And apparently, we're not getting that with who we have currently.
Yep. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Lake County Republican Central Committee show. Dan Durnell, Chairman, Dana Dumasic, Vice Chairman, Councilwoman Leanne Angerman, Secretary, yours truly, Andy Quinnell, as Treasurer. We've had with us today Charlie Kallas, candidate for the 1st District Senate seat. Good luck.
Thank you. 7 days left. Go early vote. Go vote. If you want more information, visit me at ckallasrun.com or my Facebook page, Kallas for Indiana Senate.
And ladies and gentlemen, get out. Go vote. Go vote Republican. And, hey, we've got really 8 days, I guess, until the polls close. We got 8 days left. I will be back here on Wednesday at 8 o'clock with all our statewide elected officials, our three statewide elected officials that are up for re-election. And hey, I hope to see you at 5 o'clock down at Niemeyer's Barn on Saturday for our election rally. We'll have the governor, Mike Braun, all the people that are up for re-election down there. So thank you, everyone. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.